Hey there, and welcome to another Kidlit chat. I'm your host, Brooke Van Sickle, as always, and I have the wonderful Jill Friestad-Tate here with us. Hey, Jill, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for doing this and for meeting with us. We're so excited to
Thank
have
you.
you. Yes. So tell us, for those who are watching who have maybe never heard of you, have never read your books, who are you, and why did you want to become a children's book author?
Perfect. I'm Jill Friestad-Tate, and I have been an educator for 35 years. I've taught in the K-12 levels, master's degree levels, and currently I'm at community college. And throughout all of my years of teaching, one thing kind of rings through for most students is the difficulty and challenges in reading and reading comprehension. And so that's always been one through line kind of in my life and my career of how to help students get better at reading and improve their literacy rates. But then I had my own children and I started reading to them a lot and I went back to creative writing. And so then I came up with lots of stories and just thought, oh, this is fun. But after a while, I wanted to do something with those stories and get them out in the world. So I joined a writers group, SCBWI. I joined other organizations and continued to build my craft and started writing stories. And that led me to publishing those stories, which is a bonus in all of it.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love it. So you have two books out, and they are, very different books. You have one fiction, which is like fun, Priscilla's Tea Party, but then you also have a nonfiction. So tell us a little bit about your books and what inspired them.
Sure. I at first, when I started writing, a lot of things were experience based and relationship based of experiences with children. A lot of people write about, losing a tooth, going to kindergarten, doing those kind of things. And so, one of the things I had watched with my brother-in-law and my two twin nieces was them having tea parties. And I thought, oh, that's so cute that the dad is there. And, um, this was probably 14 years ago now, but it was just that kind of connection that they had together. And I started writing that story. And that story morphed into 23 different drafts. And I had to find my own story within that. It wasn't my story to tell about him and them, the girls with, their tea party. I had to find my own story. And that became Priscilla, who was a bit of a perfectionist. And she planned her perfect tea party with her grandmother, but it didn't go quite as planned. And so she had to learn how to kind of adapt when things don't happen the way they should. So my own story also is about dealing with life when it doesn't go as planned, and that fed its way right into the book. But it's really about a young girl who's a perfectionist and learns how to deal with life as it unfolds and still see the beauty in things even when they don't go as we planned. So that was my fiction book. I have a nonfiction book then that I wrote, Messages on the Moon, and it stemmed from actually a lecture that I went to at my college. And there was a gentleman there who had written all about this little tiny disc that's placed on the moon with the first moon landing and the story behind it. And I was fascinated by that and thought that's something kids should know about because it's the only time in history that the world has come together to celebrate something. It hadn't happened before. And honestly, it hasn't happened since. So hopefully we'll see that again someday. But it's a fascinating story. So it intertwines, of course, landing on the moon with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, but it also then tells the story of how the disc was created, some of the goodwill messages that were there, and how people reacted around the world to that happening. And some of the imprints, the goodwill messages are on that disc, and now it's still on the moon today.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I think that that's so cool. And we just got on the moon. I think I saw. It's like,
Yes.
look, we did that again.
52 years later, after they had stopped doing it, it was, again, time to go back. So Odysseus is they could call it Odie for short, but that is the new one where they're just televised that in the last week here.
Yeah, yeah. And you should just be like, oh, guys, in case you want a book, you want to leave on the moon.
Good time for marketing that too, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a little bit of a gap, not too much, but how do you feel like your first book helped all those things that you learned helped with your second book?
I think writing is truly a process, and everything you learn up to the point of which when you publish your first book certainly helps you become more efficient in how you write, how you look at your writing. Even though one is fiction for me and one is nonfiction, the process is still the same. I had a few less drafts. I think I only had 8 on Messages on the Moon, but it is the celebration also of you reaching that goal. I think that that's pretty important. Um, is that sometimes you don't stop to appreciate how far you've come and how far a story has come. And so when I talk to students in schools, I often show them the first draft of Priscilla's Perfect Tea Party. And it was just really 20 lines. It was a very rough kind of outline of an idea until the finished product, of course, which I read to them. And it is all about that process. But once you get it down the first time, it does become easier. It's easier to see what you're missing. It's also easier to know the quality that you should put into it. So all of that has been super helpful as I continue to write other stories along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote 30 drafts of my first one, so don't feel bad. I think it's just part of the process when it's your first book.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So what do you think's been your favorite thing about being a published author?
Certainly my favorite thing is going to schools and talking to kids. Of course, I'm a teacher anyway, all day long, almost every day. But going to the schools and seeing their faces light up, having them tell you about the stories that they write and that they want to be authors, and the connection that they have with you because of that. Some of the kids don't feel seen in school who are writers. And so they feel like, oh, this isn't maybe normal. Their kids aren't really doing this. And it's great to encourage them to just continue to write their stories. And I always encourage them by saying, your story needs to be told and you're the only one who can tell it. And so they really enjoy that. And the thank you notes you get and the drawings and just that part of it is super rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I know. And you're the famous author when they go to see
Yes. Famous to them, which I
you.
love,
Yeah, I know, I know. Well, we can't go away from a conversation today without talking about your nonprofit that you started too. So it's called Raising Readers of the Heartland, and it gets books out for free, which is amazing. So talk to us about it. What does it do and all the things, and why did you want to do this?
So as I mentioned, I've had this lifelong connection of wanting to improve literacy rates. And then I started writing, and you learn a lot about literacy and writing and doing things for kids at young ages. And so all my worlds kind of came together, and I just felt like I was being called to do something to help improve literacy for young kids, even though I teach college age students. I felt like it was a gap in the market, kind of in just helping young kids be able to read well before they get to kindergarten. We often wait until kids get to kindergarten, try to correct what was missing, but 85% of their brain is developed by the time they're 3 years old. And so we're missing that a lot in education because we think, preschool at 3 and 4 years old will help catch that, but we've missed a huge learning opportunity for children. So once I kind of made those connections, I was looking for a way to reach out and get books to kids those ages, which led me to Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. So many people know about that. There are a lot of states that have statewide programs. We're trying to get that in Iowa now. So hopefully that will come someday. But that was kind of the program that gives books for free to kids from birth to age 5. And there's no cost to the families. And so right now, I am operating that in our county where we live. And there are 33 different zip codes, but there are 36,000 kids we're trying to reach. So we have reached a couple thousand of them already and are continuing to grow. This year, we want to add another 2,500 and just keep growing our reach and our extension to kids and get those books mailed directly to them to help fix. And you can't fix anything 100%, but we can certainly try. And that's what we're trying to do is get books to kids so they can be kindergarten ready and have a lot better success rates throughout their lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we're so excited because we support your guys' charity at
Yeah.
Journey to Kidlit because we also believe in increasing literacy rates. Once you have readers, like your communities grow, you're kinder, you're more empathetic. It's just so much better for our world. So
Yes, and thank you for your support. It means so much, and that's what we need is people who are willing to support and understand that mission. So
yeah,
we continue to grow, and you know anyone else, reach out to us.
we're gonna keep promoting it. Like go
Exactly.
and donate, guys. Yeah, it's a big deal.
It
Yes.
is.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing all of your amazingness with everyone. We're so excited to go and read your books and to learn more.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.